If I had to choose only one tent out of all of the tents that I've got to cover all conditions, which one would it be? What do you think, Bruce? Which one would it be? Find out in a minute. All the tents lined up. Hilleberg Staika, MSR Holler, 3FUL tunnel tent, MSR Hubba NX2, Lanshan 2, and a 3FUL gear ultralight single pole. Which one would I use depending on what circumstances? Which one would I absolutely never get rid of? Which one would I take if it was just me and my dog? Which one would I take if it was just me? And which one would I take if it was me, my wife, and my dog? And if I had to get rid of all of them except one, which is the one I would keep? Let's get into it. The Hilleberg Staika. A beast of a tent. 4 seasons and 4 kilos. There is no conditions that this tent can't handle. It's a 2-person tent. It's fully self-supporting. 4-season interior, 4-season exterior. Can take a lot of snow. A great base camp tent. Can handle any conditions. This is the tent you want if there's a chance that things are going to go south really fast. If there's a chance there's a storm. If there's a chance there's going to be heavy rain and you're going to be stuck in the tent, or the ground could get saturated, this is the one you want. It's super expensive. I'm not going to list prices. You need to Google that because all the prices change, but it's super expensive. It's very bulky. It's a huge tent. This is not a lightweight, small item, okay? If you're going to carry this in your backpack, you need to be pretty strong. If there's 2 of you, then you can split it apart, give the poles to the other person. Hilleberg Staika. Beautiful tent. I've used it only once because it's a new tent. And I used it in heavy rain, but I did have a tarp half covering. But I can assure you it's completely waterproof. Bathtub floor. I had no condensation problems in the tent. It's got great venting at the top. And I was in there with a wet dog. And everything was dry in the morning, no condensation, not even on the inside of the tent, which is very rare. Poles are super thick. Yeah, I think they're 10 mil. Or is it 12 mil? I can't remember. 10 mil or 12 mil. But very, very thick poles, thick as any tent I've ever seen. This is their black series. So they have yellow, red, and black. And black is the ultimate 4-season. I think red is 4-season, but not as robust or as heavy duty as the black. So, Hilleberg Staika. MSR Hubba NX 2-person tent. Newer version that has attachments at the end to guide out. This is a very light tent, 1.7 kilos for a 2-person tent. It's a 3-season tent. I have used this in every conceivable condition. I'll tell you right now, it has never failed me. Strong winds, it did bend and buckle a bit, but as long as you got the guy lines out, the thing sprung back to shape and it was fine. Heavy, heavy rain, and I mean absolute downpour, no problem. I've even had snow, not heavy snow, and you have to keep knocking the top off, but I've had snow. The only downside to using this in the snow is the snow drift will get in underneath the tent. A true 4-season tent goes down to the ground, like the Hilleberg Staika. This does not. No 3-season tent goes down to the ground. Condensation issues? Not really. I've never noticed any. Maybe a tiny bit, but it has 2 end vents that seem to work really, really well. It's a blast to put up. It's so quick and easy to take down. I've even done it with the outer first and then attach the inner. It is possible. It's just a bit of a faff. Taking it down, it's easier to take the inside down first and then the outside. So the MSR Hubba NX2, yeah, Love this tent. It's been a loyal tent, and at 1.7 kilos, this thing is light for a 2-person tent that can handle pretty much any condition thrown at it other than severe storms. This is a great tent. So Hubba Hubba NX2 by MSR. MSR Holler. This is a three-person tent. Again, 3-season, much bigger. I think this is just over like 2.8 kilos. Maybe actually this is 3 kilos, sorry. This is 3 kilos. So almost twice the weight of the Hubba Hubba. It's a bit of an older design, older school, thicker poles. You can't get this anymore. You might be able to get it second-hand. It's huge inside, huge. It's a 3-person tent. I again have had this in all conditions except snow. I've only had it in heavy rain, stormy winds, really stormy, and I've had it in baking hot sunshine as well. Never let me down. Again, superb waterproofing. A few condensation issues, I'll have to say. When you've got 3 people in a tent, you're going to get condensation issues if it doesn't have great venting. This has got similar venting to the Hubba Hubba, but that's, you know, a smaller tent, fewer people. Even though this is a bigger tent, it does have some condensation issues, but it's still a great tent. How often would I use this? Rare. It's rare that I need the space for 3 people. I think from my experience now, you know, if I've got 2 of us, 2-person tent is fine, and the gear goes in your vegetables. If there's 3 of us, it's a squeeze. I don't know that I'd want to do that. If there's 3 of us, I think I'd rather carry 2-person tents, or a 2-person tent and a 1-person tent. So, not a huge fan of this now. I have used it. It has been great, but I don't think I'd ever use it again unless I really had to, and I just can't see the circumstance that I would have to. So that's the 3-person MSR Holler tent. The 3F UL Gear 2-person tunnel tent. It's technically a 3-season tent with what they call a 4-season interior, but it is not a 4-season interior. I've already proven that. So don't be fooled by when you go onto AliExpress or anywhere else, you look at 3FUL or Nature Hike or anything else, and they give you an option of a 3-season interior or 4-season interior. It's not, okay? Because the exterior is not 4-season. If the exterior of the tent isn't 4-season, then the interior isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, okay? There's still mesh, and you can't cover the mesh up like you can in the Staika, so it's not 4-season. Don't fall for it. It's not worth the weight, not worth the extra money. So this is the tunnel tent. It's a 2-person tunnel tent. It is not self-supporting. Unlike the Staika, unlike the MSR Hubba Hubba and the MSR Holler, this is not self-supporting. Tunnel tents are not self-supporting. You have to anchor them at each end. And this is long. This has got to be 4 meters long. So space could be an issue. But if you're car camping or if you're backpacking, you know you're going to campsites with, you know, good space, good ground, no rocks, no issues with trees, then this is going to be a great tent for you. Now, I have used this in recent videos as well. I used it in 2 recent videos, and it's performed very well. The only issue I've had is that the interior space is limited if you're tall. If you are 6 foot tall, you're going to touch the ends of the tent, and you've got to be really careful because the end of your sleeping bag will get wet. I've not had that issue with either of these 2 tents, the MSR Hubba Hubba or the Holler, and I've definitely not had it with the Staika. I mean, the Staika, you do get close to it, but because there's such a massive gap and no condensation issues, it's not an issue. Your sleeping bag doesn't get wet. This, my sleeping bag was soaked at the end. Not from condensation, yes, from condensation. And it was raining hard outside, and yeah, there was nothing I could do about it. You'd have to lie diagonally, but then that defeats the object of having a 2-person tent. The only upside, I would say, for having this tunnel tent is the massive vestibule space. Now, as it turned out, that was perfect from when I had Bruce with me, my dog. Because the first night he wasn't so bad, he slept inside with me, he wasn't that wet. Second night, he was a mess, absolute mess. I didn't have a towel for him. He usually shakes off and dries, or he'd go in a sleeping bag dry, but he was just soaked through, and he would have just destroyed the inside of the tent. So the vestibule is the exact same size as the interior of the inner tent. One at one end, one at the other. So it is enormous, and he was quite happy sleeping out in the vestibule. You can store so much gear. I would even say you could probably, if you're hard pushed, you could probably put a small bike, a mountain bike, in that vestibule as well. All your backpacking gear, to do your cooking, all sorts of things. Could you sit on a small chair in there? Probably, yeah. If you're a short person, you could. So the biggest upside with this 3FUL gear tunnel tent is, without doubt, the vestibule. It's huge. Other than that, yeah, it's waterproof. It's windproof. It was comfortable. It was nothing special inside. There weren't that many features that I could point out. In fact, I can't think of any really. It does come with a footprint. I would recommend that because the floor is very thin. This is the only tent I've ever had where a hole has appeared in the floor. And it was from a branch, small, tiny twig, and it punctured a hole in the bottom of this. That's how thin this is. I've never had that problem with the MSR or the Hilleberg Staika. I mean, the Hilleberg Staika, the floor is so thick it's bulletproof. This very, very thin materials. That's how they got it so light. So I would recommend you do use the optional footprint, and you put that under the interior, under the inner, and don't use it in the vestibule, because I think this does need it. And there's a hole in here now, and I've had to tape it up. It's a 3-pole system. You guy out, you peg each end basically, and that's it. You can then guy out if you want to. So yeah, 3FUL tunnel tent. I do like it. I have used it. I am fond of it. It is pretty lightweight. This is, I think it's 2.5 kilos. So not so bad, but yeah, I got wet sleeping bag in there. Condensation was a big issue, and for that reason, I probably would not use it again. Ultra lightweight tents. These are ones usually where you have to use poles, walking poles, then to stand up. And the most famous of which is this one. This is the Lanshan 2. Now you can get the Lanshan made by a couple of different vendors. I think this one is 3FUL, I just can't remember. The label is in Chinese. Oh, it is, yeah, there you go. 3FUL gear, Lanshan 2. This is shade over 1 kilo. In fact, this one I think is 1.5 kilos because the poles, the support pole at the end. I think there's one support pole in here. This is definitely not self-supporting. You have to use poles. You have to securely fasten them. I don't know where the fad came for these walking pole tents. I don't know how it appeared, how they came up. I think it was just to save weight. If you're going to have poles, then use your walking poles. I think that's what this was about. I have used it. I'm not a fan. I didn't like the faff. I didn't like the fact that you really don't have any end room. You have to sit straight in the middle. It's extremely cramped. I would not have 2 people in this tent. 1 person and a dog, fine, but it's limited room. I did not enjoy my experience in this tent at all. I think you're really compromising to have something like this. You're compromising a lot of comfort and security in storms and bad weather just to have a tent that saves you 500, 600 or 700 grams. And I don't see the point. Lanshan 2, I probably would never ever use that again. I would rather just get fitter and carry a better tent like the MSR Hubba, which doesn't weigh that much more than this. So, rubbish. This is the 3FUL gear ultralight, and it's called a 790 gram single person tent. Uses 1 pole. Now, I can actually see or understand why you would want this. This is for someone who is doing the Appalachian Trail. or a very long hike where weight really does matter, and you're going to notice that weight over a series of days and weeks. This does just require one walking pole. It does have an end support pole in here that props the ventilation open at one end. It is useful for that. It's tiny and it is light. I think with everything in it, with the pole in it and stuff like that, it is like 900 grams. I can understand the reasoning for this because it's a single person, you're a solo walker, you don't have any gear, you're very minimal, and you're going for weeks and weeks at a time, and you just need something lightweight. Would I trust this in a heavy storm? No, I wouldn't trust any of those things ever. You would have a crap night to sleep. You really would. You just about fit, which is fine. But if the storm came in, or snow loading, or heavy winds, anything like that, you would be praying that this thing makes it through to the morning. But if you've got to save weight, if you've got to go ultralight, if you're trying to do the whole of something like the Appalachian Trail, which is 3 months, then I can understand it. Yeah. Will I ever use this again? No. So, 3 of you will. Someone has crept in to say hello. Bruce, how you doing? You gonna come up? Come and say hello. Come and say hello to the crowd. Hello. Which tent does Bruce prefer? Any tent. He doesn't care. I don't think he actually likes tents. I think he likes tarps, don't you? Hey? Yeah, Bruce likes tarps. All right. So, which tent out of mine would I keep? It's a toss-up, isn't it? You've got the Hilleberg Staika that is bulletproof. And I think you got the MSR Hubba NX2, which is less than half the weight, can deal with pretty much any situation you throw at it that normal people would be in, and is infinitely cheaper. Whereas the Hilleberg Staika, no matter what comes through in the middle of the night, because let's face it, weather forecasts are wrong, that nothing is going to touch this. This is one of those tents where if you decide to take it to a campground and horrible conditions hit that campground, and everyone, it's in the press that tents are blown away and everyone's had to go into the buildings. Not the guy in this. No chance. They'll be laughing. They'll be fine. Earplugs in, sleep, no problem. So you got to decide which one. And to be honest, for most people, including myself and the conditions I go out in, and I do try and find serious conditions, this would suffice. This is fine. This is all you need. The MSR Hubba NX2. That really is all you would need. Because I've used it in so many conditions, so many types of conditions. This is all you need. So that, surprisingly, is my recommendation. It fits 2 people. You could take yourself and your dog. It does work in the snow, no problem. Obviously not 2 foot of snow, but dustings of snow, it'll work. It will handle any amount of rain thrown at it. It's got 2 vestibules, 2 entrances, which is perfect for 2 people who are going in each way, or to store all of your gear in one vestibule and to cook in the other. It's self-supporting. The poles are really good quality. You can guide this thing out in all sorts of conditions and places. It's got 2 big ventilation holes at the end, doors. Comes in a fantastic stuff sack. And I have to say, this is the best stuff sack I've ever seen out of all of the tents. It loads from the top. So it's a bag, opens at the top, and you just chuck it in like that. Brilliant. It's lightweight, 1.7 kilos. You can go lighter than that if you want to remove the inner and go fast and light. You can get a footprint for this if you want to. I've never had to use one. This would be the tent I would keep. And I'm really surprised by that because I love this thing. It's a beautiful piece of kit. Its engineering is incredible. It's so solid. You feel safe in this. But it's 4 kilos. and get ready for it, $2,000. Yeah, you're talking almost £1,000, I think, for this. It's a serious investment, a serious piece of kit. This will last you a lifetime, but do you really want to lug 4 kilos of tent everywhere you go? I mean, this thing hanging off the bottom of your backpack, it's huge. This thing goes in your backpack, no problem, any pack. On top, whatever. Look at my other videos. It's so easy and so small. So that MSR Hubba NX2. That's the tent I would choose every time. Might have been a shock to a lot of people who thought that this was going to be the tent. Or some other Hilleberg. But no. Even the lighter weight Hillebergs are so expensive. They're not for everybody out there. That's a serious investment, which you could spend on a really good sleeping bag or pad, which would be a much better investment. This is a great shelter, but you need a good sleeping bag. So I would save the money and get a good pad and a good sleeping bag instead. And go with that. Sorry if that shocked anybody, but there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was informative. And I hope in the comments you're not too brutal on me because you thought I'd go with the Hilleberg. I just think that this is all round a great tent. So I'm leaving it at that. Hubba NX2. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. Bruce loves it when he gets subscriptions, don't you, Bruce? Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bruce, which tent would you choose? Which one is your favourite? Can you point to the one that you'd choose? Go on. Which tent would you choose? No? Nothing? You don't want to say? Okay. You're going to say goodbye to everyone, Bruce? Thank you for watching. That's what you've got to say. Thank you for watching, everyone.